this webinar. Just a few minutes of introduction, because this webinar is about the funding for big data companies, but it's within a series of activities and communication activities of the current ongoing project on the European data market study that IDC and Open Evidence are carrying out on behalf of the DG Connect. The project started almost 3 years ago, at the beginning of 2014. It's in its final phase. We will be showing the final results in November. But just a quick reminder of the main objectives of this interesting and complex study. The first objective was to develop a definition of actual data market and the data economy, and to assess the size of this data economy. The second objective, which corresponds here on objective B on this slide, was to provide additional evidence in terms of quantitative stories and descriptions of the data provided and the sizing provided under objective A. And finally, the objective C is the one where this current webinar takes place. So a series of communications activities and stakeholders communities building, which is directly taken care of by Open Evidence. If we move to the next slide, I wanted to show with you this, and then to share with you this graph of the so-called data market monitoring tool, to show you that the sizing of the data market and the data economy was and still is apprehended through a series of different indicators. And the attention that I would like to draw here is on indicator 2 and indicator 3, namely the data companies and the revenue of the data companies. What we're talking about in this webinar, and what Francesco Barbato will explain in detail, is how to address the needs in terms of funding of precisely this category of players within the data market and the data economy. And a final note on my side: if we move to the actual results, this is just a very, very top line slide presenting the latest results, which are going to be updated in 2 months. The project and our study measured the number of data companies divided in data suppliers and data users, so namely the companies who are directly producing and involved in the production of data-based products and services. All the rest, so namely all the other companies who are actually using data-related products and services, which are obviously much bigger. To give you a sense of this slide, what you can see on your left-hand side is the number of data companies suppliers, so those who actually produce data-related products and services in Europe across the EU 28. We estimated them at 249,000, which is a quite significant already, if you consider that we calculated a basis of 1.7 million companies belonging to a certain kind of, let's say, vertical markets who are focused on the production of information technologies. And according to 3 different scenarios that we developed, the evolutions of these companies can take different paths, but all these paths are going to be positive. So obviously in the so-called I-growth scenarios, the companies are going to grow by 7.7%. If we say moderate scenarios, they are growing by 4.5% in the next 4 years. And according to the challenge scenarios, they are still growing, even if this is going to be the most challenging and the most difficult scenarios. A very similar picture is offered by the so-called data users. So remember the second type of companies, the data companies that we have measured in this study, namely all the rest, so all those companies that are actually using data-related products and services. Here we're talking about a much higher number, obviously. We're talking 650,000 2015, and again, according to all three scenarios, these companies are going to grow. They are going to grow very, very significantly according to the high growth scenarios. So 15% of compounded average growth rate. Going to grow, there is a mistake here. In the baseline scenarios, they're going to grow around 2.2%, and they are still going to grow also according to the most difficult scenarios, which is the challenge scenarios that you can see on the right-hand side in red. So all of this to say that what we're talking about today is it's a solid reality. It's a reality in the making, and it's a reality that is already there, and it's developing actually very fast. And to discover the funding opportunity that the European Commission is putting forward for this reality, I'd like now to give the word to Francesco Barbato, Program Officer of the DG Connect. Francesco.
Yes. Thank you very much for passing me the word and for the introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. Just 1 second that I set up the slide properly. So I hope you can all see the presentation now. All right, so my name is Francesco Barbato, and I'm a research program officer in DG Connect, in the unit responsible for the PPP and the Big Data Work Program within Horizon 2020. Now, first, a small disclaimer. So I'm here to try to explain you at the best of my possibilities what we want to achieve with this work program, with this Big Data Work Program in Horizon 2020. But I also have to tell you that the only authoritative source of information, the legal binding text, is the work program itself. So I'm going to explain you in about half an hour or so what the objectives are. But again, remind that for any conflicting information that I may give you, the only authoritative source is the work program. Now, first, let's see what's on the menu here. So we have got a number of topics that are assigned a budget that are going to open in early December. So they are ICT 14, Big Data PPP, cross-sectorial and cross-lingual data integration and experimentation, budget 27 million euro. ICT 15, PPP, large-scale pilot actions in sector best benefiting from data-driven innovation, budget 25 million euro. ICT 16, research addressing main technology challenges of the data economy, budget 33 million euro. Then we've got ICT 17, support, industrial skills, benchmarking and evaluation, budget 2 million euros. So here you see that the part that is open in 2017 is only the benchmarking part. That's why in red, the text is in red, for which the budget is allocated is 2 million euro. And then we have got one inducement prize of big data technologies with a budget of 2 million euro. Now, before I dig into the explanation of each individual topic, I want to give you a bit of an overview of why we're doing this and what are the objectives that we want to achieve. So, first of all, let me tell you that what we want to do here is to roll out an industrial strategy. This strategy has been laid out by the Commission in a communication of 2014 called Towards a Thriving Data-Driven Economy. Why has the Commission chosen this area of interest? Because it is recognized, the Commission recognized that for what concerns big data technology, there is still a big competitive landscape that is open worldwide. And there is no clear winner yet. You know, in many other domains, lots of American companies have already put their heads on the table and they're taking it all. Now, in this particular competitive domain, there is still space for Europe to grow and for many companies to take the leadership in worldwide innovation. So this is why this communication focuses on growth on big data, so towards a thriving data-driven economy, as we call it. And also, in addition, the thing that I need to underline here is that the overall goal of this research and innovation actions that I'm going to describe to you, and this is within the wider framework of Horizon 2020, is to create new growth and new jobs for Europe. And this is the overarching political driver of the Juncker Commission. So, as you will see, this industrial strategy that I'm going to spell out in a moment is targeted and geared towards reaching the highest level objective the Commission has. Again, more growth and jobs. Now, how is this industrial strategy spelled out? What we want to do is the following. We want to support and consolidate data markets. We want to demonstrate how entire industry can be transformed if big data technologies are put at the core of their operations. We want to remove the barriers that hamper the development of such a strategy, like, for example, addressing privacy issues and developing privacy-preserving technologies. We want to fill the skill gap that is still existing. Industry is not able to recruit all the data scientists that it needs. We want to address, of course, research issues and research topics that needs to be worked on in order to provide Europe competitiveness. And we also want to provide tools for industry that are needed in practice to sustain its own competitiveness. Now, not all of these steps are addressed in the 2017 work program. Some of them have already been addressed in the 2016 work program that we just closed and evaluated this year, and in particular the skill gaps and the privacy-preserving technologies. All the rest is open for discussion and will be open in the calls of 2017 in December. Now, in order to support all of this, the Commission has set up a public-private partnership on data. What you may have heard about this PPP, and a few words to explain what this PPP is. So the PPP is an instrument in Horizon 2020 that we used to set up an ecosystem in which the industry, the research, the venture capital, the people with idea or the people with data, people that can meet with each other and can supply each other's, all the actors of this ecosystem with benefits. So this is the way that we envision in which we would like to support the growth of the data economy, putting people together, creating links, and supporting research and innovation, supporting innovation in the data business. So we would like this ecosystem to thrive, and in order to do so, we make resources available in Horizon. Now, this ecosystem this exercise actually is underpinned by financial commitments. So the European Commission, as the public side of the partnership, has committed 500 million euro in Horizon 2020, so up to the end of the program. The private side that we join forces with, represented by the BDVA, Big Data Value Association, has committed to leverage the Commission investment up to 4 times, so up to 2 billion euro. And what I also would like to mention about this PPP is that this is not a closed club, this is an open club. So everybody can participate and join, and we encourage everybody who has not been involved yet, but who has an interest, to join. This is important because you will become part you will become part of this ecosystem that I was describing before. So you will get in touch with people and ideas and means as well. One more important thing that I have to mention, as I said, this is an open club, the financial commitment. And while the calls are open, the Horizon 2020 calls are open to everybody, so to all parties, members and non-members of the PPP, the level of industry investment that I mentioned will have to be reflected in the proposals that we will receive under Horizon 2020 as well. So in a way, funding that is complementary the EC funding, and that this will be a fundamental impact assessment metric for the projects. So this is why has committed. So this is a way that we have to monitor and to leverage the industry investment itself. Now, another important thing that the private side of the partnership, so with the BDVA, that is done, is to develop a strategic research and innovation agenda. And I would like to recommend everybody that is interested in participating in the 2020 project proposals and to become familiar with this strategic research and innovation agenda. That is quite a thorough document that describes the challenges in terms of technologies and industry requirements for the short and medium term in Europe. And this strategic research and innovation agenda has been the input to the European Commission when drafting the work program that I'm about to describe. Now, what I would like to do is introduce the various ICT topics. I will explain basically how they fit into the strategy and describe what are the main characteristics of these topics. Also, before I start, I would like to draw your attention on one slide that I have added for each of the topics. That is the impact that we listed in the work program. This is very important, not only because we list what the impact is, but also because with respect to the past, in this version of the work program, we have been much more numeric and quantitative in defining what this impact is. So it is this in a way will make it easier to have more clear goals for the projects that you will submit to our attention, but also for us to monitor that the impact that we want to achieve is going to be achieved by the projects that we will fund. So I will not go there in details of all the. It's important that you know that that slide is there, and that's exactly the replication of what's written in the work program. Now, ICT 14. So ICT 14 are also known as innovation space. Now, in order to explain what we're looking for, I want to give you an example of a running European project that we have, which is called Automat, which is run by the European automotive industry. And this project will help me explain what a data value chain is. Oftentimes, I'm asked this question: what is a data value chain? What do you mean by that? So this is exactly the scope of ICT 14. First of all, also I need to tell you that ICT 14 is divided into two parts. So now I will concentrate on part A of ICT 14. Now, the project that I'm going to describe, Automat, is doing the. You probably know that modern cars are equipped with very many sensors, hundreds, if not thousands of sensors. Of course, they're all put into cars because of the core business of the car, right? So they're all related to the functioning of the car. However, there are a good number of these sensor readings, sensor data, that can be exploited in other domains. So the automotive industry, composed of Volkswagen, Renault, and Fiat, has decided to team up in a European project so that they can demonstrate how making data coming from sensors installed in cars available on a data store, so that third parties can tap into this wealth of resources and integrate this data with other data sets to build new applications, new products and services, can be successful and can generate further revenues based on the simple reuse of data that already exist. I give you an example of two things that they want to do. Take, for example, the luminosity sensors of the car that when the luminosity goes down, and the wipes on the windshield of your car that get triggered when it starts raining. Now, these are two sensor data that, if embedded in numerical models of weather forecast, and if you actually embed millions of readings of the cars that are circulating around Europe into those weather forecasts, then you can achieve hyper-accurate weather forecast. So it's a much bigger increase in the forecasting accuracy that you could ever wish, because you don't have as many moving sensor station around Europe. So that's one of the examples. Another one that will take the readings from the bumpers of the cars to add yet another layer to maps on information. So they will add basically information on the quality of the asphalts along the roads. So this is exactly the data value chain that we mean. Data collected for one purpose, running a car, make sure that a car runs safely from A to B. Reused in other contexts for other applications in other business domains. Now, this is what a data value chain is. So what are we looking for ICT14? We're looking for projects that exploits cross-border, cross-lingual, if necessary, data value chains, and remove all the technical frictions that are still necessary to be removed. So here we list some in the work program. Work on new data models, work on entity identifiers, work on standards, very important, work on multilingual support if the data that we are describing are actually requiring multilingual support, brokerage schemes, data quality, privacy, and you name the others. So this is the kind of projects that we want to receive, clearly driven by industrial requirements. These are innovation actions. And reaching the following targets. So here, this is the impact impact slide that I was mentioning to you before. So here we have a substantial increase in the number and size of data sets processed and integrated by data integration activities. We want an increase in revenue by 20% generated by European data companies through selling integrated data and data integration services. So these are the kind of things that we want to achieve with ICT14. Exploitation of data markets, as I mentioned to you at the beginning when I was describing the strategy, exploitation of data value chains, and do not forget, these are ICT projects, so making sure that the business exploitations teams up with the ICT colleagues that can help solve problems and can help remove all these frictions and solve the ICT problems that are related to the proper exploitation, business exploitation of these data value chains. So these are what we call data integration activities. Then, second part of ICT14 is represented by business incubators. So these are proper business incubators. The Commission is not reinventing the definition of incubators are. In fact, we already have one that is running, different from the one that I'm about to describe. The one that we have running is a business incubator that is supporting companies making the best out of open data, so supporting companies that want to make business with open data. In this work program, we are changing the scheme, and we want the incubator to support companies making business with industrial data. And we envision this incubator, basically these incubators as safe environments for running experiments, business experiments, I would like to add, on data. Interesting feature of this incubator is that within the consortia running the incubator, we would like to see data providers. And this is particularly important because the data needs to be provided to third parties, so to small and medium enterprises or startups. That will be the companies that will actually perform this data experimentation on data. But we would like the data providers to set at least 50% of the data challenges that needs to be solved. So this actually is a way to create a European ecosystem, again, the word ecosystem that comes up, by linking large enterprises and their data assets to networks of smaller than the data provider, agile companies, as I mentioned, SMEs and startups, that actually have the ideas and the skills to innovate based on the data that the data providers will make available. So typically, there are large corporations that are big data producers that do not have the in-house competencies to exploit to the fullest of their possibilities their data assets. So here the idea of creating this ecosystem, this network of larger companies, smaller companies, so that they can team up through this incubator and increase the business opportunities both of the data providers and the companies that have ideas and technologies on how to solve the challenges and bring them to the market. Of course, the incubator will have to offer a computing infrastructure together with the software tools, in addition to the organizational, legal, and IPR support. Important to be noted is that this ICT14B will implement cascading grants, which means that the incubator will collect the grant from the European Commission, and by form of competitive calls, it will distribute the money, according still to Horizon 2020 rules, to individual companies that will be selected through competitive calls to solve the challenges that will be, as I mentioned, set up by the data providers, 50% of them, and propose new challenges based on the availability of data. That will be in the incubator. Then here the impact slide. So we would like to have at least 100 SMEs and web entrepreneurs that participate actively in this data experimentation. We would like 30% of annual increase in the number of big data value use cases supported by the data experimentation incubators, and these other points that are made here, which I will not go through it. Then another topic, totally different, ICT 15, also known as the Lighthouse projects. And these are also innovation actions. Now, as I explained before, what we would like to do with this strategy is to demonstrate how entire industrial domains can be revolutionized if big data technologies are put at the core of their operations. And here also I want to give you an example, a practical example of something that has happened in the European industry now about 1.5 years ago, but it's still very relevant, and it's one of the biggest examples that we can show off as Europe. So you may be familiar with a company that used to be called Nokia here. This was the mapping branch of Nokia that was still retained in Europe. It was not one of the part of the company that was sold to Microsoft together with the handheld devices. So this is a very, very large mapping company. Nokia put it on sale about 1.5 years ago, and a consortium of German car automakers actually purchased it all together. Why a German consortium of automakers has purchased this mapping asset? Because they realized that this mapping asset is strategic to develop self-driving cars. So without being in control of such an asset, you don't have all the tools that you need to develop self-driving cars. And you know that there are other companies in the world, you know, the biggest ones that you can imagine, Google and Apple, that are developing self-driving cars. Those are companies that traditionally have not been focused on the metal, but have been focused on the intelligence. So if such a strategic European asset would have fallen in the hands of American companies, that by the way already very active in the mapping business, would have prevented the largest of the European automakers to be in control of such an asset. Now, this asset, as I said, strategic for the development of self-driving cars, is being put at the center of operation of the automotive industry. And this is actually transforming the way that automotive industry sees the future and work for future products, the self-driving cars, which will be something totally different than the cars that we know today. Now, this is the kind of revolution that we like to see happening, and that we think it will happen and it can happen in other domains. We listed a few of them in the work program, and we list as a non-exhaustive list: health, energy, environment, Earth observation, geospatial, transport, manufacturing, finance, and media. Now, as you probably know, we already ran a call exactly like this one with the previous work program, so this is the second edition. So we already selected 2 lighthouse projects, which at this point in time I'm not in the position to announce, but we will announce before the call opens which projects we have selected, and in particular which domains we have selected, so that proposals will not focus on those very domains and will not duplicate efforts that are already ongoing elsewhere. Now, these large-scale pilot actions, again, lighthouse projects, are expected to show quite some visibility in the industry, gather as many players they can, as many of the largest players in the given industry that they will work on, and of course, they need to demonstrate that they have access to appropriately large and complex and realistic data sets. This is of utmost importance, because what we want is that the revolution that I described before, as an example in the automotive industry, actually takes place. And in order for it to take place, you need to have access to the data. So this is all about data, and this is all about IT. And the other thing that this large-scale pilot action needs to demonstrate is that they have clear ideas and they have clear access to the appropriate IT infrastructure that will support the work that will revolutionize the industry they work on. Also here, the impact. So productivity increase, the first bullet points. Increase of market share of big data technology providers. So we would like to support Europe increase its market share for this kind of technologies. And then we have some metrics for the number of organizations we would like to see actively in the big data demonstration. As I explained before, try in these project proposals to gather the industry, representative companies from the European industry in this project proposal, which may end up with quite large numbers. However, not necessarily all of them need to be formal part of the consortium. So there are other ways in which you can reach out. Then, ICT 16. So this is the research and innovation action. Now here the challenge is to fundamentally improve the technology, methods, standards, and processes, building on scientific basis, of course, responding to real industrial needs. So very important here. This is not about speculative research. These are research and innovation actions, which means that the research that will be carried out within these project proposals needs to be driven by industrial requirements, by clear industrial requirements. This will respond to European challenges as well, so possibly cross-sector and cross-border, so to make it of European breadth. And here we give examples of the technologies that can be worked on, that can be improved, and that can be developed anew. Also, this list is not a non-exhaustive list. So we just give ideas for things that are important and that we see important, enabling technologies nowadays, like distributed data and process mining, predictive analytics, visualization, real-time complex event processing, new software stacks to take advantage of new architecture to optimize this data task, etc., etc. So here, this work program is not prescriptive, as you used to say. It is open for researchers and industry to team up and to provide project proposals on what they believe is best to be worked on. So again, no prescriptive work program, but the only prescription that we have is that the research should not be speculative, but it should be geared and targeted towards real requirements of the industry. And also here, very important is that the industry is on board in these project proposals to give the so-called use cases. That's what I call industrial requirements. And as well, data needs to be part of these project proposals as of day one. So as I explained before for the previous ICT topic, for ICT 15, data needs to be available, because if data is available, and especially we have sufficient guarantees that is available in the project from day one, then the work can really start and a number of things can happen. Failing this to be demonstrated in proposals, you will put yourself at a very competitive disadvantage against other proposals that will. And I underline this very much because still we see project proposals that this issue is not taken as seriously as we think it should be taken. Of course, working in real-world scenarios means taking care of something that normally researchers are not keen in taking into account primarily, like usability features, robustness of the infrastructure, performance, addressing privacy issues. And the other very important thing is that all the developments will be tested by professional and domain experts as opposed to researchers or software developers that would tend to test their own solutions within their own lab. But here we want exactly the opposite. We want to test these solutions in real-world scenarios so that they are practically usable and by the professionals, and technology transfer to industry can happen in a much faster and easier fashion. And again, the impact that we list in the work program. Then ICT 17. So this is a benchmarking exercise. So again, we change the topic. This is another research and innovation action. So this is part of the strategy that I was telling you before. In the way that we need to supply industry, European industry, with tools that will help increase their competitiveness. So basically here what we're asking proposer is to choose a technology their own choice, better if influenced by industrial interests. So again, teaming up researchers and industry so that they can define, benchmark, and organize evaluations on the performance of this of the technology that they will choose, of again industrial significance. So this is to give developers the means to continuously improve the performance of their of the solution that they work on, and thus giving industry more competitive advantage by taking on board these technologies. And we think it's important that these kind of schemes will survive the projects themselves. So this is generally true. We think it's important that this benchmarking exercises will continue to exist throughout the entire life cycle of the technology, which of course spans after the project end. And not all technologies are welcome. This I mean because there are already benchmarks that are running. One is run by the European Commission as well, so in the way of a funding project that the unit I work for works. And the technology that they chose are graph databases. So if one is not welcome, that is graph databases for which we're already working on. And again, the impact slides that I listed for all of them. Again, this is listed as for the work program. Then we've got one last item that is not part of the ICT topics. This is listed in the work program at the very end. And these are part of the inducement prizes. And here we have one inducement prize on big data technologies. Now here the problem statement is to become very accurate and efficient in predicting the future based on past data. So the project that has been working to prepare this prize, this project is called SEE4.c. There is a website that is easily reachable on the web. So this project will define a set of analytic tasks and design specifically tailored competitions. So in particular, they're interested in forecasting electricity grid traffics. And that's one of the examples of the challenges that will be open for the challenge. So they will supply data that the proposers, that the people that want to participate in the prize can access, so that they can develop their own algorithm methods on the base of this data. For example, for this forecasting of the electricity traffic. They will give access to satellite imageries across Europe and the Atlantic, weather forecast, and of course flows of the electrical grid. There is linking generation to the usage. So this kind of data, so that proposers can submit accurate and efficient algorithms for future predictions based on past data. So the eligibility criteria state that everybody can participate, also single persons or group or legal entities together, submitting as many submissions as they want. This is, of course, done according to the H2020 rules for participation. Now, some additional information that I wish to give you. There will be next week on the 26th and 27th, which is in Bratislava, the ICT Proposers Day, in which the Commission will officially open the 2017 work program and will provide thorough explanation and networking opportunities for everybody wishing to submit project proposals in the next call. Then there is a summit of the PPP, or the private-public partnership that I described before, taking place in Valencia on the 29th, from the 29th of November to the 2nd of December. In this summit, there will be all the PPP members that will participate and will discuss the opportunities available in Horizon 2020. I will start preparing the ground for project proposals, as well as updating strategic research and innovation agendas and networking opportunities for working together. Then there will be an information day, a specific information day on this call, on the PPP call, PPP Big Data call, in January next year, on the 17th and on the 18th in particular, in Luxembourg. One more very important information, we'll make available over the next few days before the ICT Proposers Day in Bratislava, technical background notes that will explain thoroughly along the lines, along the wavelengths of this presentation, what the Commission is looking with this call. And this will provide more thorough text and explanation than the work program actually gives. So the work program is a very synthetic piece of text that we expand on the work program to explain what we're after. And again, the only authoritative source of information will be the work program. Now, with this, I hope I gave you an overview of what we're trying to achieve with the Big Data PPP work program under Horizon 2020. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hi, I'm just reading the questions right now. So I see there is one question from Xavier Aubry. It's pretty long, but let's see. So, since consortia are starting to assemble at Proposers Day in Bratislava, it seems important to know in which areas the winners of ICT 15-2016 Lighthouse projects were awarded. As the speaker mentioned, duplication in 2017 would not be allowed. Otherwise, the consortium building work might be for nothing. When will this information be available? Without asking for this, there is another part, but okay, let's start from this. When will this information?
As I explained, this information will be given. We'll start releasing this information. I cannot commit to giving this information in Bratislava yet, but surely before the calls will formally open on December 8th, this will be made public.
Mm-hmm. And there is additional part to the question. Let me see. Without asking for details about the winning consortia, can we at least know the areas already now?
No, I cannot. I apologize, but this will be regulated. This information is regulated by the negotiations that by the grant preparation that we have in due course, and I cannot release the information yet.
Mm-hmm. So this is the only question that we have right now. I would like to remind the attendees that if you want to post a question, you can use the question mark sign and ask the question, or you can click on the hand and ask for the voice. So if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to ask them now Otherwise, you can come back to us later on and we will pass the questions to the presenter. Let me check whether there is anything else. Anybody else asking? Okay, from what I see, I don't see any other questions for now. The question to you, Francesco, would you like to add something?
No, I hope to see people in Bratislava where there will be more opportunities for explaining the work program. So if something is interested, Monday and Tuesday next week. And there will be networking opportunities already starting there. So that's a very important start of the operations. As I explained, there will be another big event in January in Luxembourg, where we will deep dive in all the ICT topics and give opportunities for networking again. 17 and 18 of January in Luxembourg. So if you are really interested in submitting project proposals, if you Bratislava because it's too short notice, do get organized for making it to Luxembourg, because it's very important to participate in this kind of events if you're serious about submitting a project proposals. I think that the investment that you will make for traveling will be worthwhile.
There is an additional question. Could you please give us some more words on what you mean, including the process will be regarding cascading grants in ICT 14B?
So yes, so for the incubator, so this applies only for the incubator, so ICT 14B. This means that the incubator, the consortium running the incubator, will not only be responsible for setting out the infrastructure of the incubator, collecting the data, making the data available, defining the data challenges, 50% together with the data providers, but it will also be responsible for running widely advertised competitions, so open calls, in which they will invite proposers to submit mini project proposals. The incubator will be responsible for selecting the best and to release the grants in the amounts between 600,000 up to 100,000 euro per mini project. So they will managing mini grants, meaning managing the financial resources that the Commission will make available for the incubator and disbursing it to third parties. So this is why this scheme of releasing the sub-grants has to be implemented in the incubator. I hope this clarifies a little bit.
Additional questions? Maybe first the one from Alfredo Salma. So, hi, I'm from FEDMA, Federation of Data-Driven Marketeers. So I have to report my members about this. Which is the area where my industry can enter with a project, if there is any?
No, so we are, as I said, as long as there are industrial requirements behind the idea that you want to propose for any of these topics that we described, that's up to you to decide. For ICT 15, the Lighthouse project, so we listed a number of domains of interest, which is a non-exclusive list. So we listed a few, but there are many others that may have appeared and may be of interest. Excluding, as we discussed earlier, the two of projects that have already been selected and that will be made public as soon as possible. Other than that, the driver should be industrial, and the industry can be any. So we are not we are neutral with respect to the application domains.
There is another question from Svitlana Olejnikova. Actually, two, but we can combine them. Where information? Is it the link below? I think Svitlana is referring to the link in the presentation. And how to apply for Info Day in Luxembourg?
Okay, so the Information Day in Luxembourg, the registration is not open yet, so this is a pre-information I'm giving you. I expect that it will be open during the month, during the end of October probably. During the month of October, will most likely will be open. So we will disseminate to our usual channel this information. Google always helps. So if you will Google Big Data Information Day Luxembourg 2017, when a registration page will appear, Google will provide it to you as first entry. And I do not remember the other. Can you please remind me the other part of the question, please?
The other question, where to find information? Is it at the link below?
So at the link below, the link below doesn't contain information on the info day. There you will find technical background notes, which are additional documents where we explain more thoroughly what we're looking for with the work program.
Thank you. From what I see, these are all the questions that we have received, and actually our webinar is coming to the end. So if anybody has an additional question, please post them right now. If not, we will finish the webinar soon. Let me remind you that this presentation is going to be available online on the website datalandscape.eu within a couple of days. So you can always come back and download the presentation. I see there are no further questions. So I would like to thank our presenter from European Commission, Francesco Barbato, for preparing this presentation, and thank you. And of course, I would like to thank all the participants in taking part in the webinar. I see there is the final question, but I don't see what the question is, so I cannot follow up right now. It's from Torbjörn Nordlink. Let me see, maybe that can be a final question, but I would maybe voice Dr. Bjorn. Hello, can you ask the question in person?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if there's some sort of website or matchmaking mechanism in order to find out other parties with similar interests for actually putting together a good proposal and project.
Yes, there is. So there are different places. So the first one that is active is the website of the ICT Proposals Day in Bratislava. So if you Google it, you will see that for each of the topics that are presented, including the Big Data PPP, all the participants can express their own interest can express their own interest. So this is one of the networking facilities that we have. Then there is, of course, the PPP platform that is has been exactly set up for this very purpose, so for connecting people. So here the website of the BDVA helps in getting in touch, www.bdva.eu. It's listed in one of the previous slides. Then there are the networking sessions that we will organize in the Information Day in Luxembourg. Then there is a website run by the national contact points, the ICT national contact points of the member states, that is called IDEA-LIST, IDEA-IST, and that's another networking facilities for matchmaking of potential project partners. So these are the ones. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it wasn't possible for me to actually catch them when you mentioned them. Could you actually write them down somewhere?
What we can do, we can update the slide with those, and you will find them on the website.
That would be really great if you could put all of them on the slide.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So I see that there are no further questions. Let me check whether there is anybody else asking, but I don't see right now any further questions. And we are running out of time. So once again, I would like to thank you all for participating in this webinar. And I'm inviting you to have a look at our website, datalandscape.eu, for the materials from the webinar in upcoming couple of days. Thank you very much, and the webinar came to the end. Thank you.